The 2025 box office has been on life support this year. I mean, like outside of the carryover of Moana 2 and a couple of other things, oh boy, it has been a veritable desert. Even by this time last year, you had the likes of Dune 2 come out, Wonka, and what was it, The Mean Girls remake, okay? Like it even made a little bit of money, but nothing this year. Absolutely nothing. Like January was a dud. February, well, here's your heavy hitter, okay, Captain America Brave New World, but outside of that, man, nothing of note has even released. Okay, the monkey, you remember the monkey? Yeah, exactly. And what was that? Speaking of monkeys, not like that, okay, we're not going back to Captain America quite yet. No. There was that the Better Man, Better Man, okay, the Robbie Williams biopic where he was an anthropomorphic monkey and nobody mentioned it at all. I heard it was a decent movie, but it was a catastrophic flop, and it had a huge budget because I think, what was it, Weta Digital did all of the CGI. But anyways, man, it has been rough out here. Realistically, it doesn't look to turn around anytime soon. If this summer isn't as big as the studios hope that it is, I can't imagine the end of the year cope that's going to be out there. How many theaters are going to close down, and how many studios are going to be looking to restructure. But let's take a look, okay, here at Brave New World, okay, heading into its third weekend, and once again, just another open highway with nothing of note releasing, and it's going to stay the exact same way until, well, the end of March. So if there's going to be, okay, if there's all of that cope that is out there, or at least there was on social media, a couple of weeks ago, where actually it's the third best performing Captain America film, and it's actually made back its money already. You bigots and chuds don't know what you're talking about. And I mean, we can take a look at the opening weekend and say that $88 million, like outside of the Incredible Hulk back from 2008 and the Marvels, that's the only thing that it beat out. Not great, okay? Or you can be like, what was it, Screen Rant, who put out that cringe article with the headline of Captain America Brave New World in just 1 week eclipses the total output of the biggest bomb in the MCU. It's like, if you're scraping the bottom of the barrel that hard in order to spin it so it makes it seem like Cap 4 was any kind of a success, you might as well just crawl into that bitch, because your dignity got checked at the door. Holy Christ, man. I just want to take another look at the numbers here. It might be the last time we do this, mostly because I don't imagine that this is going to make any more money, because this thing isn't cracking $200 million domestically. It might internationally. I don't know, man. It's really tough to tell. Given how both of those numbers have pretty much stalled out, I'd imagine over the weekend it's going to crack $300 million. And as it sits right now, it is, it's far and away left the Marvels in the dirt. So it's not going to be the biggest bomb. I don't think anybody anticipated this being a bigger bomb than the Marvels, even though we can look to the very slight future and see something that could potentially be on par with that. And we got the numbers now to back that up. But just looking at this, okay, and just there's an awful lot of red that we see right there. That it's red. It's red. But obviously, okay, like we don't have the Thursday drop off. That's going to be interesting to see, because normally Thursday is in fact the lowest day of the week. So it could be bad. It could be really, really bad, and we could be seeing its first 6-digit day. But those numbers, at least at the time of recording, aren't out right now. And I'll be interested to see the third week drop off, because the big comparison that is made by, the more in-tune people is Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania. Okay, and we'll take a look at that one here. 13 days, since we have the numbers for that, we could take a look at the 13-day total for Cap 4 and see 147,000. Okay, or I'm sorry, 147 million, 147,000. I mean, that would be a bigger bomb than it already is. But okay, we got to be fair on this one. So what was the 13-day run total for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania? Well, you take a look down here and you make your comparison with 141 million, and you go, oh boy, 172.8 million. I think that's a little bit more. So yeah, it's for all of the shills out there saying, actually, it's on par with Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania. And in fact, beating it out in a couple of different areas, it's better than that. Okay, it's doing good. And it's like, now at this point in time, it's like, what's the cope? Okay, domestic is off. The international is this off, and you're not going to end up beating the overall total. It's done. It's dusted. A film that was widely accepted at the time as being a huge bomb, and it wasn't until a little bit later when he had the shills run out and go, actually, it turned to $77,000 profit. At that point in time, just say that it lost money. Just say that it broke even, because if you're going to try to be so petty, which absolutely isn't the case in reality, trying to say that it ended up turning a profit of 5 digits on a film that cost upwards of $200-300 million, just stop it. That's pathetic. That's even worse than getting washed like you did with the Marvels. But the big comparison, right? Okay, the bigger comparison that the shills were trying to make was Captain America Brave New World is tracking as well as the Winter Soldier was. Okay, its opening weekend was on par with the opening weekend of Winter Soldier. So I decided to pull up the numbers. And well, even back in 2014, without adjusting for inflation, Winter Soldier did $7 million more on its opening weekend. And 13 days into its run, I think you know where we're going on this one. Like we said before, let's refresh everybody's memory. 13 days, 147 million. 13 days for the Winter Soldier, $170 million. Not adjusted for inflation, bro. It's done. It's done. It's dusted. Disney is losing their ass on Captain America Brave New World. But don't worry, guys. Coming out next month, T-minus 3 weeks away, we have the Savior on the horizon. And that comes in the form of, you guessed it, Snow White, baby. Oh, it's going from bad to worse, huh? You bet your ass it is. Snow White hits a long lead tracking with live action take of Disney's classic Whistle, a happy tune box office forecast. Now, this was at the beginning of the month. Okay, because I'm going to do a nice fair comparison, because we went over these numbers when they first come out, and it's like, well, it was looking pretty dire then, but also at the same time, like I said, I think the biggest bellwether for this, okay, whether or not it was going to fail or succeed, was ultimately the Mufasa film, and I think it ended up making what at the end of its run, like 500 million, which is just way too much for that soulless, lifeless, dead-ass film, but it is what it is, right? Like, people generally like things that vaguely allude to things that they remember. That's the old normie slop, man. And then especially by the end of the year, Disney still has a couple of live action cards to play in Lilo and Stitch and Moana. Stuff's not going anywhere. They just hired somebody to take over for their live action department. So yeah, Disney is still they're gonna be going hard on this one. But yeah, Snow White. I mean, the other bellwether was that Y2K movie, whether or not Rachel Zegler could lead a production, and well, that one was a catastrophic failure. So yeah, seeing how much the normie audience has just really turned off on the Snow White film, yeah, it kind of lets you know that this thing is going to be a disaster. Every single time a trailer gets released, it gets ratioed into the ground. It's gone beyond just simple internet meme territory. This is a 5-alarm fire. And well, while Captain America 4 wasn't quite that Marvel's level bomb, I kind of think this one is. And this one, it's also going to have like that $350 million budget when it's all said and done. And I'm not entirely sure. This one might have been shot in the UK, or at least in a place where we can get some tax documents somewhere down the line. So we'll be able to find out what the budget of this ultimately is going to be. And we know that this has been through several rounds of reshoots, because all the way back, what was that, in 2023? I think, yeah, 2023. We got those leaked set footage, or I'm sorry, the leaked set of pictures where you had the 7 baristas in the background and Rachel Zegler's stunt double, who looked a lot more like Snow White and a lot more, well, appealing than our titular character. And that got mocked into the ground. And then it got delayed for another year to be sent back and redone, re-edited and reshot. So that was the first admission. And then you got the Instagram pictures of both Gal Gadot and of Rachel Zegler saying, yeah, back, so happy to be back here to put the finishing touches on this production. So yeah, it's been in the can, and it's been worked on, you know, in the Disney CGI minds for a very, very, very long time. And, you know, are they going to be rewarded for it? Well, let's just see here. Disney's a long-awaited live-action reboot of the 1937 animated classic Snow White doesn't open until March 21st. Yeah, a day after Assassin's Creed Shadows. What's gonna be a bigger disaster? I think, you know, it's wild. I think this is the first time that Shadows ends up taking a W. But, however, box office forecasts are out for the Rachel Zegler, Gal Gadot starring movie. And, oh my God, Deadline, you're so pathetic. Long awaited, you know, the live action classic. Oh, it's very, you know, it's highly anticipated. Quorum reports the 3-day start for Mark Webb directed movie is $63 to $70 million, while other sources, yeah, just have it pegged somewhere in the middle of a $65 million opening weekend, which is trash. Holy Christ, that is really bad. That is really bad. But hey, at least it has no competition going for it, and Rachel Zegler can put this on her resume as having, this is the biggest opening weekend for her. Well, at least somebody can take home a W. But like we said at the offing, this was a couple of weeks ago. These were numbers at the beginning of the month, prior to a couple more trailers coming out and them getting ratioed, and the general perception of this movie, thanks to, you know, a lot of good meme videos like the Chat Music YouTube channel that just has, what, 3 different Snow White movies, or I'm sorry, 3 different Snow White videos that all have several million views on them. The first song is obviously the best. The third one's quite good as well, and the second one, you probably could have done a little bit better out there. But still, this right here, a detestation for this film has broke out of the internet bubble and into the broader scope of things, and I think people are generally like, it's probably not going to have the knock-on effect for Disney like it should be, because I don't really imagine that this thing's going to be written or acted any worse than a lot of the other slop that they put out there. It's just for a multitude of outside reasons. Like, Rachel Zegler is just so toxic, man. Like, she is the avatar of entitled, insufferable, untalented hacks in the business. Like, she gets to wear that right now, justifiably so. Okay, remember, she wished nothing but suffering and unease and no rest to all Trump supporters and Trump voters, half of the United States and millions more people around the world. She wants you to have a pain-filled life for the rest of your life. Why should we reward her? And that's why those predictions have gone down. Disney Snow White box office projections plunge even lower as House of Mouse braces for looming Rachel Zegler financial disaster. Color me surprised. Just when it seemed like the box office outlook for Snow White couldn't get any worse, new projections indicate that the film is set to open even lower than initially expected. According to the leading Hollywood research film, the live-action remake is now tracking for a $53 million opening weekend. Oh, and we're still a month out, huh? 3 weeks out, huh? In North America, with estimates ranging between $48 and $58 million. It's a significant drop from earlier forecasts, which had it between $63 and $70 million. I wouldn't imagine, okay, and I would not be shocked if those estimates, as we get closer to release, don't end up going down further. Now, I talked about it before, okay, in the form of the Marvels. And I put to you one final question. Does a Snow White live-action remake end up doing worse than the Marvels? Take a look at those projections, okay? 48 to $58 million opening weekend, somewhere in on and around as it sits right now as I record this on the evening of the 27th. Okay, you guys are watching this. When is it? On the 1st, I have this scheduled to release. So yeah, 20 days ahead of release. Do we think the opening weekend for Snow White ends up being worse than the Marvels? I think we have a strong case. I think we have a strong chance. I think we have an opportunity for Disney to wipe the slate clean on the biggest box office bomb in recent history and supplant it with an even more justifiable bomb. Strange to be in a situation where you're looking forward to movies coming out in theaters, but not for the reasons that the studios would want you to. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.